back to the Grimm Chronicles. Pretty sure this is going to be episode 13 for this year, 2022. And so this is my weekly chat about what I've been reading. And thank you all for watching. I can tell, so I'm in this busy end of semester mode, the first week back after the spring break, I think. And of course, reading is still there and important, but other things are kind of in the mix, sort of trivial things, but also important. I don't know. I mean, in terms of how one lives one's daily life. So to start with the perhaps most frivolous thing, I'm in haircut limbo because my hairdresser retired and I didn't like anyone else at the salon. So I'm sort of already planning on maybe running around looking for a hairdresser in Germany, because there are so many hairdressers in Germany. And it's a very urban place, and so both in Wiesbaden and Heidelberg, every corner there's a hairdresser, and good ones. And I think in a way it's kind of, I don't want to be too mean about where I live, because I'm all about, bloom where you're planted. On the other hand, you're in a sort of strange place when you don't have access to a good hairdresser. Now there is one okay one, but it's the plight of the small college town. It's where all the girls go. All the college girls go and get their blowouts and stuff there. And I don't want to go there, but I may end up having to go there. So anyway, that's the most frivolous thing, is what my hair is doing right now. We don't know. I'll let you know. And then I didn't look exactly, but I had this I just had this poll on my community channel about whether people like vlogs, and a lot of you, 88% out of the quite a big number for me at least, said that they like them. So I'm a bit busy right now, but I will definitely be vlogging around the trip to Germany and also doing the weekly updates. That's one thing that will be a constant. But I'll try and, do some vlogging. I'll see how it goes. I mean, I want to. It's a fun thing to do, and you're in a different space, so everything is different. Like even going to the supermarket is kind of fun in Germany for me. Anyway, we'll see how things go. But yeah, and even before then, I'll see how things go in terms of my busyness and you have to be in the right mind space to want to vlog. The whole being okay with this sort of aestheticizing your life. Not that mine's very aesthetic even when I try. But it's also kind of fun if you, and then connected to that, the last sort of trivial thought perhaps is, I'm bad. I unlisted all the Christmassy vlog things, and I don't know what I was thinking. I think I had this idea of just wanting to have my updates be on there. There's some kind of neat freak thing going on. But because of, you all saying that you like the vlogs, and, either you commit to being someone who is sharing your life online this way, or you don't. There's no in between. And so I think I might try and go in and I'll open them up again, for people who want to check them out. They're not very interesting, but they're fine. They are what they are. The internet's been kind of weird today, though. It hasn't been acting very well, or like loading very well, but it doesn't matter. It's not urgent. So let's get into the reading. So I finally finished this wonderful book that I highly recommend if you're into, I know a lot of people won't care for her style, but I really like Marguerite. She's the discovery of this year for me, for sure. And Angel in the Forest is this beautifully written but non-fictional account, despite what people say, of the little town New Harmony, where two utopian societies happened, very different ones as she describes. And I mean, of course she has embellished, and it is prose, it is fictionalized nonfiction, but from what I gather, she hasn't changed facts. Like the people who are actually all there at this time, it's just that the way she writes about them is not the way other historical nonfiction works would write about this place. And I prefer this style, to be honest. And so the way I would describe Angel in the Forest, which was written about, I think, a good 20 years earlier than the big one, the Miss Mackintosh novel, 45, and I think Miss Mackintosh was written in the 60s, I think. I'll check. I would say that this is sort of a little bit like, it's always, as we say in German, examples always lib. Sorry about if you caught a glimpse of my inky hands. So Yeah, I had a little accident there with the fountain pens. So my first real accident. So I'm still trying to get the ink off my hands. Anyway, so it's a little bit like, what would we say? Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man versus Finnegan's Wake. You know that. So this is Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. This is a much more accessible work. Well, not much more, but more accessible. It's still profoundly strange and wonderful, but it's as if, and see, I love Miss Mackintosh, even though I haven't really been able to read any of it in weeks, but it's so special because it's like, I don't know, times, it's this style, but way more of it, and it's completely enthralling. Even though I haven't been able to read it, I really kind of miss being able to immerse yourself in these very, very, so it's hard to describe her style. It's very poetic. She uses repetition to her advantage. She uses, you know, it's very lyrical. It's very poetic. So you kind of get into the rhythms of the language. And yes, Lily has joined us. She wants to say hi, I guess. She likes Margaret Young too. And so anyway, let me see if I can find a couple of sentences just to share with you, so you get a sense of her wonderful style. I won't do it justice. And I haven't done a lot of thinking, you know, I don't have very coherent thoughts, as you can tell, per usual. It's very off the cuff, that's what you get here. But this is from going from when Owen is there, so not the rap. The raps have gone, and now Robert Owen is there, and it's I'm not even sure what exactly is being described in the Book of Nature. Oh, here we go with Lily. Careful, girl. Don't knock the camera over. She's right here. She wants to say hi. You want to say hi? Yeah, there she is. You saying hi? Yeah, baby. Anyway, so let me see if I can read this. Lily, don't get in the way. I'm just going to start anyway here. She's describing the birds and the flowers of this area and sort of giving a description of the nature of it all. Lily. Sorry, there she is. Soon this green area was populated by swans, cranes, geese, white heron, wild duck, the kingfishers, swallows, horny-tongued woodpeckers, a variety of birds, but no religious experiences. So she's always comparing the fact that Robert Owen was all about reason, whereas the raps were all about religion. And what does she say here? There were communities of lion-headed hornets, most cooperative, enemies to all creatures but themselves. It was an Adamless Eden, where ants performed their marriage flight and lost their wings. Immense elephants browsed on the Wabash Hills, lifting their trumpet trunks among the topmost branches of the maple and oak trees. As yet, their ivory was intended not for the keys of the harpsichord. The puma devoured the deer, parrots mingled their cries with the cries of monkeys in Posey County. Where New Harmony is, there was a crocodile whose mouth served as a dormitory for plover. But that was not paradise, or was it? That's just wonderful. I love it so much. And I'm just so thrilled to bits that I completely went in blind with Margaret Young. You know, like I kind of went in blind with silly old Karl May, and that was terrible. But with her, it's like, it just gets better and better. It's simply wonderful. This is the beginning of a chapter called Exodus from New Harmony. So juxtaposing the religious with the sciencey people. Life and its negation seem inexorably bound together, an essential condition of existence, as if happiness delivers us only from one want to another, an empty longing. The science of society, even though unrealized, had seemed more oppressive than God's order, the ebb and flow of the human heart, the secret life, the longing, the suffering. In God's order, there were problems which could not be solved by the application of human reason. And God's order had persisted, even in rational New Harmony, where there were many cries unheard, many questions unanswered, many differences between experience and the logic of an argument, etc., etc. So kind of getting at the problem with wanting to do something in a too extreme way. She's all about that. And here's just a very short quote that kind of gets to the point. So for all her lyricism and poetics, she's a very political writer. She was a socialist. I think she was a socialist. I think we can say that. Her only other book, aside from Miss Mackintosh and this one, is about Eugene Debs. And I'll have to check up. Eugene Debs was a more union organizer. I'm sorry that I'm so blank on who he was, but I know he was something to do with the workers' movement. And here she writes, "Where but from France could come the real enlightenment? Any system of values is hollow and empty unless it fits the needs of collective human beings." I think that's a great quote, and it's very true in my opinion. So yeah, all out wonderful 5-star read. Will probably be in my best of for the year, so I'm pretty sure it will. Maybe number 1, we'll see. Money's always hopeful that other great things will come along. Let's see, where else am I with my reading? So I just finished the second lecture on Bloody Chamber, which is a wonderful short story, or longer short story. She gets away with a lot though, because one thing, when you're rereading a text to prepare it for a lecture or for a chat with students, you kind of read it in a different way, and you're kind of reading it through, well, what will they understand? What will they have questions about? Or what will they just, and in the class so far, there's a bit of a divide between people who think the prose is too much and who love it. And that's kind of, I think that makes sense with her, with a writer like Carter. She is very, lyrical and almost old-fashioned in her use of language. And she's not a minimalist. That's the main thing. And so one thing that's kind of a conundrum with the Bloody Chamber, but I think you just have to go with it being a modern retelling of a fairy tale, is the anachronisms in terms of really kind of placing it in what seems to be very much the fin de siècle, so the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, and yet there's all these cars and telephones. So the telephone plays an important role in the story. And I actually looked up, the first transatlantic phone call was 1927. And this seems to be taking place a lot earlier than that. And even the driving around with the cars, I'm not sure about that. Oh, and the house has electricity everywhere until it doesn't in the Gothic sort of climax at the end. It's all candles. But before that, it was ablaze with light, electricity. And I also think that's a little bit of an anachronism, although it's not. Is it an anachronism when it's a fairy tale fictional world anyway? I mean, it's Fantasyland. So, and I think she probably did it on purpose, or she just doesn't care. And she gets away with it because she's such a good writer. So phenomenal. And I have read some other ones in here. I don't think I've read all of them. I haven't read the Puss in Boots. And I will admit to kind of wanting to move on and read other things when I'm done teaching a text. I don't linger with them because I just sort of need a break from that. And but I will come back to it eventually. All the other stories in other Carter texts for sure. And so what has happened is this one is, I'm still reading it. I want to finish it, but because it's a sort of very minimalist, incremental things happening in sparse language, it doesn't lend itself to episodic reading in the way that, like, Young is fine. You don't really miss that much by not. This one is a kind of book that you kind of need to devour in longer chunks, if not all at once, because I am a little bit out of its world by now. But on the other hand, it will be fairly easy to get back into it. But and one has to say, not a lot happens. I mean, it really is just her kind of her interactions with these men in this new town. It's not plot driven at all. I just saw that it is signed by Herta Müller. So yeah, phew, Chatty, got a signed book here. Very special place in my heart for that one. So I will finish it, but if you want to read this, read it more quickly than I am able to, which most of you will be able to because I'm very slow. We know that. And then we have, this one's still going strong in the audio. And I would say this one's still a little bit easier to follow than some of the other ones, but I'm also probably getting more into the story. There's still a lot of stuff that I don't quite get because I'm mainly listening to it on audio. But it's a great escapist type place to go to escape, to kind of relax from work and everything. So I think it will be good to have this during my travels. The New Yorker project of reading stuff in the New Yorker is also stymied, although what is happening is I keep finding new things I want to listen to, even nonfiction stuff. And I say listen, I shouldn't have said listen, because of course you read the New Yorker, but now I found that when you go to articles on your app, on a gadget, it gives you sometimes the option of listening to them. And one of them, I was going to listen to a very sad nonfiction story by someone who's written a lot of influential books recently. It's about, sad topic of teenage suicides, I think. Anyway, but it's read by the guy who reads the Knausgard, and I really love his voice. Edward Barberini or something like that. Really good. And I was like, wow, I want to listen to that instead of read it. So maybe I will. And so that leaves me with a book that I'll have to pick up once I'm done with the Herta Müller, which won't take too long, hopefully, whenever I get around to it. And so I've had these two on my radar for a long time. I think I've even showed them before, the bird books. Goshawk by T.H. White, so an earlier one, and then The Peregrine by J.A. Barker with an introduction by Robert McFarlane, who's also someone I need to check out. This is also not that new, 1967, but it is newer than T.H. White. I'm pretty sure this is sort of a classic. Has a different font. 1951. Okay, 1951 versus 1967. So I don't know. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We'll see how it goes. And yet I'm also drawn to. Well, there's the other project that's timing me a little bit, which is reading my gadgets. I think I've decided I'm going to go with the Kindle and not with the Fire, because I don't really need another gadget that has everything else on it. I need a gadget that is for my books, and so yeah. Anyway, we'll see. I'll report back. This is a book I don't really know a lot about the author, Jean Giono, and the reason I got this is I saw his name mentioned in The Door by Magda Szabo, the Hungarian novel. And then I saw this and I thought, well, that's serendipity or that's fate. I'm supposed to pick this up because I actually really like this very kind of nature cover. And also it has an introduction by a writer who I really admire, Susan Stewart, who wrote a great book called On Longing, which is all about kind of nostalgia and collections. And then she's another new book. She's a poet, she's a critic, very interesting person, and so the fact that she wrote the intro I think is also a plus. So you know what, I might dip into it. We'll see. French, right? French, Italian, but basically French. This is a French novel translated from the French by Alison Waters. So yeah, that's the translator. And this was written 47, so post-war stuff. It's a remote alpine village cut off from the world, etc., etc. Strange and disquieting. I like the sound of that. Yeah, so we'll see. I love these NYRB editions. And then, of course, Jean Paul. I just remembered I started the Jean Paul, and that's stymied too because of work. But I will come back to them. I will. I promise. 18 minutes seems about fine for this week. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for watching. I'm back, bumped up over the 500. I'm fine with being around 500. I just didn't like the idea of going back down under 500. I was a bit sad to lose people, but there are so many of us out there doing these videos. So yeah, but as long as I stay around 500, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm very happy with that. Well, not even pretty happy. Hope everyone's doing well. Tell me what you're reading. Are there any Wagner fans out there? Because one of the intertexts, the Bloody Chamber has so many intertexts, things that are references. It's almost like overdetermined in terms of its referentiality or its intertextuality. And one of them is Wagner, Tristan and Isolde. And I've never been able to get into Wagner. I do like the aria at the end. It's very, moving and beautiful. But I just can't get into Wagner. Maybe I'm just not old enough. I don't know. Maybe it's because my father was kind of into Wagner, and I always kind of thought that opera was pretty stodgy. I don't know why I don't have that gene. I wish I had it. Maybe give it a few more years, and then I'll get into it. I think it's also, if I had time to sort of read the texts of the opera. Anyway, all for now. Hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you very soon. Probably just another update. I don't know about the blogs. We'll see. Vlogs. We'll see how they go. I'll see how I feel. Talk to you very soon at the latest next week. Bye-bye.